Alrighty. Okay, let me unmute you all. Sorry, mute. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so in the last class, like we saw how to read the data from an external file, like a text file, and also how to create a properties file and read it using the properties object and like use it in our script. Okay, so in the same way, like how we were reading it from a text file, like we may also need to read it from an Excel file also, because like we can store the data in an Excel file. Okay, so let's see how we can read and write the data into a Excel file. Okay, so first thing is, let me create one class. Okay, and I'll create it as, let's say, read underscore, let's say, Excel. And I need a public, like void method, sorry, main method. So I'll select this public static void main and I'll click on finish button, which will create a class for me. See, okay, and then so first thing is, like we need a Excel file with the data because we want to read it from an Excel file. So we need a file stored at some location. So what I'll do is I'll go to some location, let's say in this folder, I'll create one Excel file. Okay, and name it as, let's say, testdata.xls, and open the test data file, and let's say I'll give some information in there, like some data in there, let's say name, and then let's say in the B probably what we can do is, sorry, or I can give it as like username, and in the second I'll give it as password. Okay, so there's a username and password, and I'll give some values in there. Let's say first one is something like Mercury, or let's give something tester1 Mercury, like tester2 some data like password Mercury, then tester3 and Mercury. Okay, so let's say like we have some data in this Excel file and we want to read this data. So let's close this file. So we created a file and let's copy the path of it. See, let's say string file path equal to, then let's say I'll provide the path slash testdata.xls. Okay, so we are reading the Excel file like this. Okay, and close the quotes, colon. So we have provided the path like and in a string called file path. So once this has been created, like then like we need to create some objects. Okay, so the first object is the, see, file input stream, let's say some name, input stream equal to new file input stream. Okay, same as how we created the, like yesterday, even for the text file also we have used the same thing. So file input stream, and in here we need to pass something. See, new file of this file path like this, and close it. Okay, so it's giving us some error, so let's hover over it and see import file input stream. Okay, and here see, even on the file there is some error, so just hover over it and import file. See, and it's asking us to do something else. See, unhandled exception, type file not found exception. So it says that like we are trying to use a path, like we are trying to check for a path or a file, and it may or it may not be there. So for that reason, like it says like you have to handle this exception. So either we can do try catch block, or you can just say, see, select this add throws declaration. So when you do this, it will just add a throws here. So again, in that, like you have different file not found exception, IO exception, exception, throwable. So we can select one of them. Like we can either select file not found, or we can say IO, which is input output exception. So we can select this. Okay. So now the error has been gone. So next is, like now it's a, like we are trying to read it from an Excel file, and each Excel has like different workbooks. Workbook in the sense, see, when you open an Excel, like when I open an Excel file, see, this is an Excel and each one is one workbook. See, like I can close this, see, so like nothing is there. Now I can file and say new, which will open one workbook. Okay, see, file, new. Okay, so it says here, see, a blank workbook, like this. So we are create, like it's like a one Excel file. So even in Selenium or in the Java also, like we need to create a workbook object. See, workbook something like workbook is equal to new HSSF workbook of this input stream. So this is the object that you need to use. Okay, so workbook is equal to new HSSF workbook. So it's giving us some error because it needs a jar file. See, select this, and actually see, it says like create class. We don't want to create a new class, but it's not able to understand what this workbook is. Okay, so it says workbook cannot be resolved to a type. So it's not able to understand what that workbook is, and it's not able to even download any of the class files also. Okay, and it says, do you want to create a new class called workbook? So we don't want to create it, because if you create a class, like you have to write your code to read the, like talk to the Excel file. Instead, like what we need to do is, there are already some files or the jar files which have implementation to work with the Excel. Okay, so all we need to do is get that jar file and then associate it to our project. Then we will be able to use it. So we need to get a jar file, and for that, like we have a specific jar file to read it from Excel. See, I already downloaded it, which is POI. So we can use this POI jar file and we can associate that jar file to our project. So if we have this POI jar file, then our code will understand what this workbook is. Okay, so all I'll do is, I already downloaded it. See, I'll go to the project, whichever the project that we created, right click and say select properties. Okay, then a new properties window will be displayed, and in this window, like you have different things in like tabs over here in the side of the pop-up. So all we need to do is go to this Java build path and see, you have a tab called libraries. So inside these libraries, we need to associate the jar file. Okay, so see, there is one tab button here which is add external jar. See, like we downloaded a jar from some location, like I'll send you that jar file. So we downloaded it from some location, and that's a external jar file. It's not a like property of or Eclipse. So it's a external jar file. So what we need to do is, we need to add that jar file to our build path, saying that, okay, Eclipse, go and look for this jar file for the specific code that you want to. Okay, so click on this add external jars and see, you will go to that folder. So like we need to navigate to that specific folder wherever you have stored your jar files, and then select that. So let's say I have one version like POI 3.10, or I can even use 3.15. There are different versions, so I downloaded them. So let's say, see, the 3.15 is the latest version, so I'll use that. I'll select it, click on open. See, it added the jar file here. I'll say apply and click OK. Okay, just click on the save button. See, the error should go. Like now if I do this, see, import workbook. So without the jar file, like we couldn't get this. So because like we don't have that jar file. So once we associated it to our class path in the folder, like to our project, now we can see this import workbook. So just click on this, which will import the specific class. See, POI user model, like workbook, like that. And in the same way, see, for HSSF workbook also you have an error. Just select that and see import HSSF workbook, like this. Now all the errors are gone. Okay, so this one is just a warning, so we can ignore warning. Okay, so but the errors are gone. Okay, so now what we need to do is, like, we created a workbook. So inside workbook, what we have, see, when you open an Excel, like, first thing is a workbook, and inside workbook, see, we have multiple sheets, like sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Okay, so in order to read the data from a specific sheet, what we need to do is we need to first get the handle for that specific sheet. Okay, so if you want to read from sheet 1, we need to get sheet 1 handle first. If you want to read the data from sheet 2, we need to get the sheet 2 handle. Okay, so in whichever the sheet that you want to read the data, we need to get the handle for that sheet. Okay, so how to get that is, see, again, even for that we have a class sheet. See, let's say first sheet equal to, see, using this workbook object, workbook dot, see, get sheet at 0. Okay, the first one is the 0. Okay, the first sheet is 0. If you want to go to the second sheet, you have to say 1. You have to give 2 for the third sheet. Okay, and again, like, you have an error here. See, select this and say import. Okay, import sheet. Then even get sheet has something. Get sheet, the method get sheet in the type workbook is not applicable to the arguments 0. Oh yeah, actually it's get sheet at. Yeah, this one. See, sheet equal to first sheet equal to workbook dot get sheet at 0th location, which is the first sheet. Okay, so once you get that sheet, see, now, like, what we have, so now we got the handle for this sheet. Okay, so let's open our Excel file which we created. Okay, see, now we got the handle for the first sheet. So now what we need to do, like, the data is in different rows like this. See, first row, second row, third row, like fourth row, and this is columns, first column, second column. So the username will be first row, first column. Okay, so password will be like first row, second column. This will be second row, first column, second row, second column. So like that. So it's a composed of like rows and columns. Okay, so now what we need to do is, like, we need to get the rows first. Okay, so first we need to get the row, and then from that row we can read it all the cell values from each of that cell. So first is row. So how to get that row is, see, there is an object even for that called iterator. Like, first is a, we have to select a iterator of, see, row, then iterator equal to first sheet, whatever the sheet that we create, see, first sheet dot iterator, see, like this. Okay, again, iterator, like, it needs to know what it is. See, import Java util iterator. See, this one, like, we have to use the, in case if the Java util iterator is available, we need to use the Java util. Even for all the others also, like, first preference we need to give is the, for the one with the java.util. See, select this, and again for the row also, see, import row, like this. Okay, now all the errors are gone. So let me take off these spaces so that it's easy for us to read, like this. So we got the iterator, and also, see, we can click on this minus, which will hide all of these. Okay, so we got the iterator object. So iterator, like, which has, like, we are trying to loop through that sheet using this iterator object. Okay, so now what we need to do is we have to loop through until the number of rows that are there in that file. Okay, so how we need to do that is like we have to use some loop, and with the help of that loop, like we have to write the or loop through that object. Okay, like loop through that Excel file, and we need to read the data that is present in that Excel file. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to use a loop. So either like you can use a for loop, like while loop, or whichever the loop that we want to. So in this scenario, while will be better. So what I'll do is see while, like press a control space, and yeah, we can use this first one, or like this one, iterator dot has next, because we are using a iterator object. Okay, so like this. So we have the iterator dot has next, and see we got row equal to like row of next iterator. So it's already given that specific code for us. So let it be like that. And now what we need to do is, so instead of row, like we can say next row, so that it's easy for us to understand. Okay, so row next row equal to it, like we are creating a object of row, okay, and giving it name as next row equal to iterator dot next, so which will give you the loop. And now what we need to do is, see, now we got the handle for that specific row. Okay, so using the row, now we need to loop through each of the cell values, like each of the column that you have, and then we need to read the data from it. So how to do that is, see, now again, like we have to loop through the cells, like we don't know how many cells have the data, so we need to loop through them. So even for that, like we need to use a iterator. See, iterator, open and close, and now it's the cell equal to, sorry, not equal to, like we need to create the object. See, cell iterator equal to this next row, whatever that we created. Okay, and dot, see, cell iterator, like this, and open and like close it. And again, see, now iterator, it already knows what the iterator is, so that's why it's not throwing an error there. And row, it already knows, so didn't throw an error. But now its cell is a new word, so it does not know what that cell is. See, again, hover over it, see, import cell, like this. Now the error is gone. Okay, so now we got this cell. So like again, so we don't know how many cells are there, like how many cells have the data. So we have to again write a loop, and then loop through it to get the each and every cell value. Okay, so again what we need to do is we need to select one more loop. So again we can use a while loop here. Okay, see, while, control space, iterator, iterate over a iterator. See, it's already taking, because we already have a created iterator here, so that's why it's taking it as, see, like this. See, while cell iterator dot has next, cell equal to cell of like cell iterator dot next, so it's getting the content of that cell. Okay, and we are having again a loop to it, because we don't know how many cells have the data. Okay, so now we got the cell value, like cell handle to that specific cell. Okay, so we got a row, and then after that row we got a cell handle. So now using the cell handle, like what we need to do is we need to get like specific data, like get specific data in the sense like we want to get what are the data that is there in that specific cell. Okay, so for that reason, like what we need to do is we have different methods. So like what happens in Java is it does not directly read what are the data content that is there in that cell. Okay, so if it is a string content, you need to call a different method. If it is a numeric value, you need to call a different method. If it is has a boolean value, we need to call a different method. Okay, so first of all, to do that, like what we need to do is we need to know what type of data is present in that specific cell, whether it's a numeric or a like string or a formula or a boolean, or like let's say if it is no value in it. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to first of all get the cell value. So how to get that cell value is, see, like using the cell object dot get cell type. See, get cell type. Okay, cell dot get cell type. So what this get cell type will do is it will give you what type of value is stored in that specific cell. Okay, and now what we need to do is if that cell type is string. So if it is string, then we need to do something. If it is a numeric value, we need to do something else. If it is a formula, we need to do something else. Okay, so what we need to do is like we have to check that. So based on that, we have to do some other things. So again, for that, we need to use a loop. Okay, so and the loop that we need to do is, see, we want to verify what is there in that content. So if it is something, we need to do something else. So we already saw different loops. So for that, the best loop would be either a if loop or a select case, like, or sorry, switch case. Okay, so if loop, what it will do, it will first check like if cell type equal to this, do something else. Else if cell type is something, do something else. Okay, so we have to check multiple things. So for checking multiple things, it's good to go with a switch case rather than a if loop. Okay, because for the if loop, it will waste the time. Like every time it go, if you have 10 verifications, it will go to first, then second, then third, then fourth, like that. But with the switch, it directly goes into the whichever the case that it has. So for that, what we need to do is, see, switch, press a control space, see, switch case statement, select this. Okay, so switch key is, see, this one. Okay, cell dot get cell type. Okay, and then see, case is, value is, let's say if cell dot what you can do is, see, cell type. See, there are different things like blank, boolean, error, formula, numeric, and string. Okay, so based on whichever it is, like we need to select that specific value. So let's say if that column has a blank value, in case if it is a blank, we need to select the blank. If it is a boolean, we need to select the boolean. Okay, so based on that, see. So now let's say if it is, let's say string. See, cell dot cell type string. If it is colon, then what we need to do is, let's say I want to just display it using system.out.println. Okay, in here, see, cell dot get string value, sorry, get string cell value, like this. Okay, and break. In case if the case is, see, let's move this little bit. Okay, and in case, let's say cell dot, if it is a numeric value, in case if it is numeric, see, then system dot out dot println. Okay, see, now cell dot get numeric value, numeric cell value, see, like this. Okay, so based on the type of the cell, we are getting some specific value. Okay, next case, see, cell dot, if it is, let's say, boolean. Okay, colon, see, system dot out dot syso. Okay, and again I have to give, see, cell dot, not the quotes, see, cell dot, what did we do? It's a boolean. So see, cell dot get boolean cell value, like this. Okay, and finally, in case if it is a blank, see, case cell dot, if it is, let's say, formula, if you have some formula in it, then we can get it with a formula. Okay, and let's say if it is a blank, see, system dot out dot println. Okay, cell dot get blank value, sorry, get, or sorry, like if it is a blank, like we don't have anything in there, so we don't need to use any method to get it. So we can say that just simply blank value like this. Okay, in case if it is a formula, see, like you have one more for formula also. See, case cell dot, see, formula. If it is a formula, then to get that formula, see, cell dot get cell formula like this. Okay, so based on like, so whatever the data that is there, it will be either one of these, either a string or a numeric or a boolean, okay, or something. So in case if you don't have a switch case, and if you directly say get string value, okay, get string cell value, in case if there is a numeric in that cell, okay, so what will happen, it will throw an error. So we shouldn't be doing that. So instead what we need to do is we need to first get what type of data is there in that cell, and then based on that we have to use that specific method. Okay, and why it, like, see, this one all got a line over it, striked out, because whatever the current jar file that we are using, these methods are deprecated. Okay, but that's fine, like we are using a latest jar file, because of which it's happening like that. Okay, in case if I use a old jar file, it will be good, like it doesn't do that. Okay, but let it be like that, it will still work. Okay, and see, actually after this we have to break after every row like this. Okay, so now let's save this and see, if I run this, I'll close this Excel file. Okay, and I'll execute this content. Did we complete loops? Oh yeah, we did. Okay, see, let me run this. See, all the data is here. See, username, password, tester1, tester like Mercury, tester2 Mercury, tester3 Mercury. Okay, so there are 3 rows and 2 columns of data. Okay, or actually 4 rows. Okay, so even this is first row, see, second row, third row, and fourth row. Okay, and it's pretty quick also. Like, see, we don't even see, it's in a fraction of second, like it executed and it got the data to us. Okay, in case like if you want to see the different, like let's say we are not able to understand like which row it is or what column it is, so we can also have something here, like let's say after each of the cell I can just keep a system.out.println and give, let's say, something like this. Okay, so this will, I think after each column it will give you a line, so instead I'll write it in the next loop. Okay, let's see this and see what happens. See, after each column has been done, like it's writing a line here. Okay, so instead I'll cut this and paste it in the next, after the next row. Okay, see here. Okay, let me see where it is. So after each row we have to do that. So this is this, so we have to put it here. Okay, see, now if you run it, see, username, password, align, tester1, first row, second row, third row, and fourth row. Okay, so this is how like we can read the data that is there in that Excel file. Okay, so basically a lot of times, like in real-time scenarios, like we will be having the data stored in a Excel. Okay, and like we will have to for sure read the data and use it in our scripts. Okay, so in the next class, like in this code itself, like we'll use the RC code and we'll try to use the data that is present in the Excel file and pass it into our script. Okay, so we'll try to use that, both whatever the data we are, like code we have written to read, plus with the RC code. Okay, so but this is how we can create the code to read the data from an Excel file. Okay, and we can also write it to the Excel, like which we'll see it later, like how to write the data into an Excel file. This is how to read the data. Okay, so like in later classes, like I'll show you how to write the data into a Excel file also. Okay, so let's save this. Okay, and like see, make sure that you are using a Excel file. So if you are creating this HSF workbook, like we can also do with the Excel, and if it is a XLS, like we need to create a different object, XLSX. Okay, so but for XLS we can use this HSF workbook object. Okay, so let's save this. And any questions in this, like how to read the data from this Excel? Okay, pretty simple, like there are only 4-5 steps that we need to remember. First is create a Excel file. Okay, second is workbook, like first the input stream, then workbook, then sheet, and then once you get the sheet handle, then we need to get the row iterator and the column iterator. Okay, and like we have one question, like it says sorry, we have a question like, do we need to close the file at the end of the skip? Okay, we don't need to. Okay, so in Java, like you have a mechanism. What it does is it kills the, once you do something, create one object and you have done with the usage, like there is something called as garbage collector. So what that garbage collector will do is, like it will go and check in case if there are any threads that are waiting or any components that you created are not being used. So what it does is it kills those components. Okay, other than, like in Java it's like that. So but in other VB scripting or some other languages we have to kill that. Okay, but here in Java we don't need to, so we can just create, use it and leave it there. The garbage collector, like it's his duty to clear or clean all this stuff. Okay, so this is how, like we can create the code to read the data from a Excel file. Okay, so let's close this. Okay, I'll send that code to you guys. Okay, you can practice it. Okay, actually in the previous class what we used was, like we have one more question in the read text file. See, we are closing it, but this is a different thing, like we are closing the buffer. Okay, like we are closing the buffer reader, but here see we are not creating a buffer reader. So input stream, like we are creating a workbook object, those things, but not the buffer reader. So for the buffer reader we have to close it, but for this we don't need to. Okay, so let's close this and close this Excel file too. Okay, and next topic that we'll see is, one simple topic is there, something called as constructor, like which we need to know when we are creating the classes. Okay, see, I'll come here and I'll just create one class. See, class, and I'll give it as, let's say, constructor example. Okay, and I can have a main method also. See, create a main method and like this. Okay, so basically, like now we created a class, and inside that class, like we have a main method. So what will happen, like let's say when we have a class and let's say when we have a method in the class. So let's say, see, public void, let's say print name, some method print name, open the close bracket and do this. Okay, and let's say in that I have a simple code, system.out.println, and let's say my name is Selenium. Okay, my name is Selenium. See, so I just created one class called constructor example, and in that I have one method called void print name, and I'm just displaying one line of code saying that my name is Selenium. Okay, so to execute that method, like what we need to do, like we need to create the class object. So how to do that is, see, constructor example, the name of the class, it says CE equal to new constructor example. Okay, so new constructor whatever the method that we create, class that we created. Okay, and using this CE dot, like print name, we can call whatever the method that you have it. Okay, see, this is how we generally create it, like create a class and then we can use the methods that are present in that class. See, when I run this, what will happen? So it will just display my name is Selenium. Okay. In case if I don't call that method, see, if I comment this method and create a class, what will happen? Like nothing will happen. Like it will create an object of that specific class, but it does not create the or call this method. Okay. See, let's run this. Okay. See, it executed, but nothing came up here because the class has been created, like object has been created for that specific class, but we are not calling any of those methods. Okay. So what are the methods that are present in the class can be only called once you create the object and then call them. Then only the code will be executed from that method. Okay. But like there is something called as constructor. So what the constructor is, for every class we can create one constructor. Okay, see something like this, and that should be the same name as the class name. So I can say public, okay, or I can even say just like void class constructor, okay, open and close the brackets and open and close the curl bracket. Okay, so we can create one method with the name of the class. Okay, so this is a method, like this is a class, this is a method. So we are not returning anything from that method. So I'm saying void. If you want to return something, we can say whatever the value that you want to. Okay, so now I'm saying void constructor example, and see, I'll say, let's say system.out.println. I'll simply say inside constructor like this. Okay, so all I'm doing is creating a method with the name of the class. So this method is called a constructor. Okay, as the name of that method is same as the class. So now what will happen is when you create an object, whenever the object is created, what the Java will do is it will go and execute that constructor or the method that you have in that class. Okay, so you don't need to specifically call that method. Okay, instead when you create a construct like class object of that specific class, then the constructor will be executed. See, when I click on the run button, so now go to the console. Oh, let's run it again and see. Something it's not running. Let me see. Is it not running? Oh, sorry. Actually, I didn't give it as a constructor. See, change to constructor. See, we don't need to give any void or anything. All we need to do is just give the class name. Okay. See, now save it. See, now if I run this, see, inside constructor. Okay. So this is what the constructor is. Okay. So all we need to do is just give the name of that class as to the method. And once you do that, whenever we create an object, it will execute the code that is present in that constructor. Okay, so whenever we want to do something, like let's say whenever we create an object, like we want to do something that should be executed, for sure that code should be executed whenever we create a class. Like whenever we create an object of that specific class, then we need to have that code in the constructor like this. Okay, so constructor like this, and it will execute it. So now see, if I say this c.print name and constructor example, so it will execute both of that code. See, so without even calling the constructor, it went into it and executed that code, plus it also executed my name is Selenium, because we are calling this method. So that's why it even executed this code, plus it even executed the constructor code also. Okay, so this is what the constructor is. So generally in the interviews also they'll ask you like what is a constructor, like what is a method, what are collections, different types of collection objects. So these are all kind of interview questions itself, in like related to the Java. Okay, so core Java. And the same thing, even we can call it from other classes also. See, let's say in case, same thing, like how we did the inheritance. See, like new class, let's say constructor example 2. Let's have a main method here. See, finish. Okay, and what we can do is we can create a class here of that constructor example. See, something like this. Like, let me copy that line of code. See, like this. Okay, so we can also do this. Okay, see, if I run this, when the class is when the object of that class is created, see, it will execute the code that is present in that constructor. Okay, so we can use it from the same class or from different class also. We can create a like object wherever we can create the object, it will execute. Whenever we create a class, or like whenever we create an object of that specific class, the constructor will be executed. Okay, so simple step in case if you want to have anything that you want to execute it. Okay, that's what the constructor is. Okay, and also like we have some inbuilt functions that we have in Java that we need to know. Okay, so methods, see, let me open a notepad. Okay, see, like we saw how to create methods like public void main or void or return value, something like if it is an int, like you have to return an int or whatever it is. Okay, so we saw how to create those methods. Okay, and there are actually two types of methods. Like one is user defined methods and second one is the inbuilt methods. Okay, so user defined are the ones like which we create, like which you write your own method. Okay, so which we did just now, like we created some method here. Okay, see, in package test in constructor example, see, we created a method called print name. Okay, so this method, like we created it, like we gave a name to it called print name, and we are deciding what that method should be doing it. Okay, so that's what the user defined methods. So we are creating that methods and we are defining what that method should do. Okay, and we can change it also. As we have defined it, we can also make modifications to it. And in the same way, like there are some inbuilt methods also. Okay, so there are some methods which were already defined by Java. So all we need to do is we can use them, but we cannot do any modifications to it. Okay, so those are the inbuilt methods. Okay, for example, see, this is a main method. Sorry, not this. Let's say, see, cars.add. Add is a inbuilt method which is already defined by Java. Okay, so all we can do is, see, we can use it. Cars.add means it will add a value to that whichever the collection that we are creating it. Car.remove will remove the value. So add means like there should be some code which needs to be created to add that value to that collection. Okay, or the tree set or whichever the object that you are creating. So these are all the methods which are already defined, and these are called inbuilt methods. Okay, so not only this, like there are some other methods also. See, let's see some of them. Like I'm just creating one new class and I'll give it as inbuilt methods, and I need a main method, so I'll select this one and click on finish. Okay, so we'll get the code. I'll remove this and start using it. Okay, for example, like let's say the first one we want to see is a compare strings. Like let's say for example you have two strings. Okay, see, two strings. Let's say if you have two different strings and you want to compare it. For example, see, string let's say first or something, let's say value 1 equal to tester, then string value 2 equal to, let's say, something else, automation. Okay, let's say you have two strings. One is value1, which is the tester, and the other string is value2. Okay, so if you want to compare these two strings, like let's say you want to check whether these two strings are same or not. So what we can do is, one way is, see, like we can say value1 equal to value2. Okay, so we can do this. Value, like we can check this like this. So value1 is double equal to value2. So we should not put equal to, but in Java we need to have to check, in case if we want to compare two different string, we need to have two equal to's. Equal to, equal to. If you give double equal to, then it will compare. If you give only one equal to, what it will do is, it will take the value of this value2 and store it into value1. Okay, so if you do that, it will do this. Okay, so see, if I display system.out.println, see, I'll display value1 is C plus value. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you the difference between equal to and double equal to. So if you give equal to, what it will do is, it will assign the value of this value 2 to the value 1. Okay, so that variable value will be assigned to this. See, let's run it and see. So value 1 has tester, value 2 has automation. So what we are doing is, we are assigning the value 2 variable to value 1 with 1 equal to. See, value 1 is automation. Okay, because we have, it overrides it, like it assigns whatever the value that is there to value 2 to value 1. Instead, if you want to compare it, so we need to give double equal to. Okay, and for that, see, like let's write a for if loop. In case if that value is equal to this, I want to just display same or else something else. Okay, so I can use a if loop. See, if control space, and I want to use the if else statement, I'll select this. See, if condition, then this, and I'll copy this condition there like this. See, if value 1 is equal to value 2, then let's say I want to display pass, else I want to display fail. Okay, fail like this. So I don't need this line of code. See, so what we are trying, we are checking it whether value 1 is equal to value 2 or not. See, let's run this. See, fail, because first value is not equal to the second value, so they both are not same, so that's why it failed. Okay, in case if both of them are same, see, tester, see, pass. Okay, because both the values are same. In case if I give one uppercase and one lowercase letter, and if you do this, see, it is failed because both are treated as different strings. So first string is like, first value is uppercase and all the others are lowercase. Second is everything is uppercase. Still it will fail because we know that both are same. But what the Java will do is, it will think that it is a different value. Okay, so in these kinds of scenarios, we might not be able to use this double equal to and compare those two strings. Okay, so in case if you have a requirement that you want to check, even though if it is like uppercase or lowercase, you want to check whether it is same or not, then what we need to do is, we need to use one of the inbuilt function. What that inbuilt function is, see, like value 1 dot, see, equals, see, equals, you can check this, equals value 2 like this. Okay, again we can write a loop. If, see, control space, if else statement, if value 1 is equal to value 2. Okay, same thing, I want to display pass. Okay, else I want to display fail. I'll just copy the same code like this. Okay, so let me comment this code and only run this. See, if value 1 dot equals to value 2, then system dot out dot println pass, else fail. See, let's run this. See, again it is fail. Okay, because we are only checking for equals. So now both of them are not equal. Okay, still it is failing, because let's say if you use this equals, it will just check whether both of them are same or not, like how we did for the double equal to. In case if you want to ignore that case, like let's say we want to ignore the case even if it is uppercase or lowercase, we just want to check whether two have the same characters or not. So for that reason, like what we need to do is, there is one more method called dot equals ignore case. Okay, so what this ignore case will do is, it will ignore the case. See, I'll cut this and paste it. See, like this. Ignore equals ignore case. So now what will happen is, it will ignore the case whether it is lowercase or uppercase. It will just ignore that and it will compare those two values. See, let me run this, and it is pass. Okay, because even though like one is uppercase, one is lowercase, still we are saying that okay, ignore it and then try to verify whether they are same or not. Okay, so this is how you can do it using this inbuilt variable, like equal ignores case. This is a inbuilt method that is already present in Java. So we haven't written any code for it. Instead, there is already a code written for that method and we are using it. Okay, so like this, like you can use the equal ignore case and we can compare the two strings. Okay, and in this way, like we also have some other methods also. So let's say for example, you have a string value or something like, let's say, yeah, string value 3 equal to, let's say I'm giving it as 1 2 3. Okay, see what I'm trying to do is, I'm giving it as a string value, like name of that variable, even though this is a number, but we are giving it in the double quotes. So when you are giving it in the double quotes, like what will happen, it will treat it as a string. Even though it's a numerical value, as you are giving it in the quotes, it will treat it as a string value. Okay, so now let's say instead of string, we want to convert that into a numeric value. Okay, so let's say for example, in your application, like you have something, let's say SSN. Okay, and when you are retrieving the value from your application, it is giving it as a string value. Okay, but let's say you have a value that you are getting it from a Excel file and it's a numeric value. Okay, and now you need to compare that numeric value and a string value. Okay, in case if you do this equal ignore case, it doesn't do it because it's a string and an integer. You cannot compare a string with an integer value. Okay, instead, like what we need to do is, we need to convert this in like string value to an integer. Okay, and how to do that is, see, int, let's say value 4 equal to, okay, you have a method called integer dot parse int. Okay, and to this parse int, we need to pass this variable value 3. Okay, and semicolon, like this. Okay, int value 4 equal to integer dot parse int of value 3. Okay, so now what will happen is, that string value will be converted to an integer and will be stored here. Okay, see, and let's display this value, system.out.println. Okay, and let's say I'll simply say value 4 to display it. So let's run this and see. Okay, first is pass for the other one and next is the 1 2 3. So the string has been converted to an integer value, and in the same way, like we can also convert an integer value to a string value also. Like for example, see, int, let's say value 5 equal to 1 2 3. and you want to convert that into a string value. See, then what we can do is string, let's say value 6 equal to integer dot toString, okay, and give value 5 like this. Okay, see, integer dot toString of value 6 or value 5, and then we are storing into a string. Okay, so let's display even that system.out.println. See, I can just say value 6 like this. See, let's run it and see. Okay, actually here we cannot actually see the difference whether it's a string or not, because it doesn't keep a quotes in the console. Okay, but when we are actually using it in a very real applications like our data, comparing the data from an Excel file to an application, then we can see the difference. Okay, so here it just displays 1 2 3 itself. Okay, but when you know that it's a string value and it's giving it as an integer, okay, actually we can do it in a debug mode and we can see. Let's run it in the debug mode. I'll keep a breakpoint here. Okay, and I'll comment all these code, or let it be. See, right click, debug as Java application. So I kept a breakpoint at line number 23. See, and it's asked you to move it to the perspective view, like debug view. So just say yes, which will open a different view for us. Okay, see, now we came to line number 23. So string value 3 equal to 1 2 3. So let's click on this step over. See, and if you see here, see value 3, you have it in double quotes because it's a string value. So all the variables values, you can see it in this tab, variables tab. See 1 2 3. Okay, and then next, see, press F6. See, and if you see the value 4 variable, see, now the quotes have been removed because we did it here. So we did integer dot parseInt off, because of which it removes that quotes and converts that value into a integer value. See, now if you see this, like you don't have the quotes. For value 3, you have the quotes. That's the difference. Okay, in the same way, see, go to the next one. See, value 5, if you see here, see 1 2 3. Okay, and now this is an integer value because it doesn't have a strings quotes, so it is an integer value. So now we are converting that integer value into a string value. See, press F6 and now it converted. See, now you got the quotes again to it. Okay, so that's what the difference is, like how we can convert a string value to an integer and an integer value to a string value. Okay, so let's complete the run. I can just click on this resume, which will execute it. Okay, and now see, we are in the debug mode. Okay, and if you want to go back to our previous mode, see, you have here Java, and if you see here, there are two buttons kind of thing, like one is Java and one is debug. So if you click on the debug, this is the debug viewer, and if you click on the Java, we'll go back to our Java view. Okay, again, in case if you want to go back to the debug view, we can just click on this and we'll go into the debug view. Okay, so I'll click on the Java and we'll go into the Java mode. Okay, so this is how, like, we can convert the string value to an integer and an integer value to a string value. And in the same way, like, we also have some date methods also. Like, for example, let's say you want to get the today's date, like whatever the today's date is. So for that, like, we don't need to write our own code. Like, what we need to do in case if you want to write our own code, like, we need to write a method, and in that method we need to write to go to connect to our system and then get the system date and time, but we don't need to do that. So for that, we already have a method that is created. So all we need to do is just create an object of that method and we can use it. Okay, so for that, see, date, let's say dt equal to new date of. Okay, see, and it does not understand what this date is. So just click on this select, like that line of code. See, import date, and see, if you see here now, like import date java.sql is there, import date java.util is there. Okay, so like I said, java.util is the one that we need to use. So for everything, like whatever the methods that you are trying to use, like if you have the java.util, better to get that, not the java.sql, even for all the other things also. Okay, in case if it is a POI, like something related to the Excel or something related to a specific type of task, then we need to get that. So at that time you will not have Java util, instead you will have POI dot something. Okay, so let's import the Java util date object. See, now the error is gone. Okay, and now what I can do is, this date has all the information, so I can say system.out.println, and let's say I'll say today's date is plus dt, like this. Okay, let's run everything and see. Today's date is WED October 19 20 14 59 Eastern Daytime 2016. So everything you will be having it there, like date as well as time also. Okay, and see, this is the default format, like this is the default format of the date when you create the date object. And in case, let's say you want to have your own specific format, let's say a different format that you want to display it. So for that, what we need to do is, see, let's say we need to create an object called like simple date format, like something ft equal to new simple, sorry, simple date format. Okay, and in this we need to give what format you want the date. Okay, so for example, let's say I want something like years dot or like dot dd, then yeah, let's say we want to get only this format. See, simple date format, again import it, so java dot text, see, that is gone, and do this. Okay, and now see, system.out.println, just to display it, and let's say I'll say today's date is plus this ft dot format, and then give date, which is dt, yeah, capital dt. So whatever the date that we are getting, we are sending it to this format object and asking it to give the date in this format. Okay, so let's see if this format works, or we need to change the timings also. So let's see, let's try this and see. See, let's run this. Okay, yeah, it did work. See, now today's date is 2016.17.19. In case if you want month first, date, and then year, we can also do that. So all we need to do is change this format. Okay, something like this. Let's say dd dot dot yy. So you will get all the data, date, month, and then year. See, let's run this and see. See, 19/17/2016. Okay. Oh, sorry, gave 17. Let's see what it is. Like this. Yeah, 19/10/2016. Okay, so should be uppercase. Okay, so that's why it was giving something else, like maybe it's taking the minutes or something for the small So see, today's date is 19/10/2016, like this. Okay, so first we need to create a date object which will give you the current date in a specific format, and then once you get that date, like you can change it to whichever the format that you want to, and then convert it with the help of this simple date format. Okay, so once you practice, like you will know what these methods are, and then you will be able to use it easily. Okay, so these are the some of the methods which we generally use. Okay, like date, like comparing values, converting the values. There are some other objects like methods also. Okay, we can just Google it, like saying that Java methods, like we'll get all the information. Okay, and also I'll send you some document which has like different methods also. Okay. So any questions or is it clear? I'm unmuting you all. Looks like there is one.